The day Aurelia Vance lost everything, the world didn't notice the silence that followed. Her mansion still stood tall on the cliffs overlooking the restless ocean. The company she had built from nothing still dominated headlines and stock markets. News channels still spoke her name with admiration, calling her the youngest tech billionaire in the country. But inside the towering glass walls of her home, there was only stillness and the quiet hum of a wheelchair. 6 months earlier, Aurelia had survived a devastating accident that left her paralyzed from the waist down. In a single moment, the woman who once commanded boardrooms, flew across continents and made billion-dollar decisions before lunch, became someone who needed help just to move across a room. At first, everyone promised to stay. Her business partners visited with polite smiles. Distant relatives suddenly remembered they were family. Caretakers arrived, recommended by expensive agencies with glowing reviews. But slowly, almost invisibly, they all faded away. Some said the job was too demanding. Some whispered that Aurelia had become difficult. Others simply stopped answering calls. The truth was harsher. Taking care of a paralyzed billionaire sounded glamorous in theory, but in reality it meant patience, compassion, and long hours that money alone could not buy. Many were attracted to her wealth, but very few were willing to face the loneliness and emotional weight behind it. Soon, the grand mansion that once hosted glittering charity galas felt like an empty museum. The echo of wheels across marble floors became the only sound. Aurelia had money for the best doctors, the best equipment, and the best therapy. Yet none of those things could replace something far more rare: genuine human kindness. Before the story continues, if you believe kindness and second chances still exist in this world, take a moment to like this video, share it with someone who needs hope today, and subscribe to the channel Bright Acts for more stories that remind us how powerful compassion can be. One rainy afternoon, as dark clouds rolled over the coastline, a delivery scooter stopped outside the iron gates of Aurelia's mansion. The rider was a tired young man named Rowan Calder. Rowan wasn't a hero. He didn't own anything close to a mansion. In fact, most days he struggled to pay rent for the small apartment he shared with his 6-year-old daughter, Mira. Since his wife passed away 3 years earlier, Rowan had been juggling 2 jobs just to keep their lives afloat. Food deliveries during the day, package deliveries at night. Life had hardened him in quiet ways, but it had never taken away his gentleness. That afternoon, he carried a bag of groceries ordered through an online service. Nothing special, just vegetables, soup, and basic supplies. A routine delivery. But when the gates opened and he stepped inside, something felt different. The mansion was enormous, yet strangely quiet. No security guards chatting, no busy staff moving around. Just a long hallway and the distant sound of wheels rolling slowly across polished floors. At the end of that hallway sat Aurelia Vance. Rowan recognized her immediately. Anyone who followed business news knew her face. But seeing her in that wheelchair, pale and distant, was nothing like the confident woman from magazine covers. She looked alone. He placed the groceries carefully on the table and noticed the struggle in her movements as she tried to reach for the bag. The small motion took effort, and her hands trembled slightly. Something inside Rowan paused. He had another delivery waiting, another deadline, another rush through the city. But instead of walking out the door like every other courier had done before him, he stayed for a moment longer. He quietly unpacked the groceries onto the kitchen counter, arranging them neatly where they could be reached easily from the wheelchair. No dramatic speech, no expectation of reward, just a simple act of decency. For the first time in weeks, Aurelia felt something unfamiliar. Not pity, not obligation, just kindness. Over the following days, Rowan continued delivering groceries to the mansion. At first it was coincidence, then it became something else. Each time he arrived, he noticed little things that made life easier. He would move a chair slightly so Aurelia could pass through more comfortably. He would place items within reach. Once, when he noticed a loose rug that could catch the wheels of her chair, he quietly rolled it aside. None of it was part of his job. But Aurelia noticed. For months, she had been surrounded by people who saw her only as a paycheck or a burden. Yet this exhausted delivery man, with worn sneakers and rain on his jacket, treated her with quiet respect. Weeks passed. Rowan never asked for money, never asked for favors. Sometimes he even brought a small extra item, like fresh bread or fruit for Aurelia, saying the store had extra stock. In truth, he had paid for it himself. Meanwhile, life continued to challenge him. Rent was overdue again. Mira's school fees were approaching. Some nights Rowan returned home so tired he could barely keep his eyes open while helping his daughter with homework. But he never stopped showing up with that same quiet kindness. One afternoon, Mira insisted on coming along for a delivery. She sat patiently outside the mansion gates while Rowan carried the groceries inside. But Aurelia noticed the small girl waiting in the rain. Soon Mira was invited inside for hot chocolate. The enormous mansion, once cold and silent, slowly filled with a new sound. Laughter. Mira's cheerful voice echoed through hallways that had long forgotten warmth. She would draw pictures on scrap paper, telling Aurelia stories about school, imaginary dragons, and the adventures she wanted to have when she grew up. Rowan watched nervously at first, worried he might be crossing boundaries, but Aurelia encouraged the visits. For the first time since her accident, she felt something shift inside her heart. She wasn't just a patient anymore. She wasn't just a billionaire in a wheelchair. She was a human being surrounded by life again. Months passed, and Aurelia began regaining something doctors could not prescribe: hope. Her physical therapy became more determined. Her days became structured. Rowan sometimes helped move equipment, adjusted ramps, or stayed longer than planned when extra assistance was needed. The mansion slowly transformed, not because of wealth, because of compassion. One evening, after watching Rowan struggle to repair his aging delivery scooter outside the gate, Aurelia finally realized something powerful. The man who had given her dignity expected nothing in return, and that was exactly why he deserved everything. Soon afterward, Aurelia quietly arranged something that would change all their lives. Rowan received an unexpected job offer, not charity, but a real position managing logistics for one of Aurelia's growing charitable foundations. The role offered stability, healthcare, and enough income to finally secure a future for Mira. But more importantly, it allowed Rowan to continue doing what he had unknowingly done from the start: helping people. As months turned into a year, Aurelia's foundation expanded its mission to support individuals with disabilities and struggling single parents across the country. Rowan became one of the most dedicated leaders in the program, ensuring resources reached families who needed them most. The woman who once felt abandoned by the world had found something greater than wealth: purpose. And the man who once delivered groceries on a scooter had unknowingly delivered something priceless: human connection. If this story touched your heart even a little, please take a moment to like the video, share it with someone who believes in kindness, and subscribe to Bright Acts so more people can hear stories that remind us how powerful simple compassion can be. Before we reach the end, here is a special request for you. In the comments, write the word kindness if you believe one small act can truly change someone's life. Because sometimes the world doesn't need heroes with power or fame. Sometimes it only needs a tired delivery man who chooses to stay for one extra moment and help someone who feels forgotten. And in that quiet moment, two broken lives can begin to heal together. Not through money, not through status, but through the rarest gift of all: a simple human heart that still chooses kindness.